Hey, good morning, everybody. It's February 7th. My name's Al Belcher of Smoky Mountain Micro Farms, and I thought maybe I'd start off while I'm clearing this garden out from the winter and last season to explain to you what I'm doing here. I grow in wood chips. A lot of people call it the back to Eden method, where you prepare your soil, you kill the grass off, which I didn't do a great job of. Put down some compost, and then you cover it with 6 or 8 inches of wood chips. And as those wood chips break down over time, this is the third season, it turns into compost, and it enriches your soil. It helps in so many ways. You can YouTube search back to Eden method. And what I've done is gotten wood chips, and not just regular straight up wood chips, but stuff from the tree trimmers that has green in it. Those piles were probably 3 times as high, and there was 2 more of them that are actually on the garden now, but those have been sitting there, and this is starting the 3rd year of them composting, and they've actually shrunk at least in half. They used to be way taller, and as time goes by, that'll turn into compost. But I'm going to be putting it on top of the garden because it's going to take years. And what that does is it breaks down over time. It protects your soil from heat and evaporation, so you don't hardly ever have to water. The soil is always nice and moist, and I don't know how well you can see down in there, but if you can see any of that white stuff on the underside of the wood chips, that's mycelium. I inoculated everything with wine cap mushrooms. Spent a couple $100 on wine cap mushroom sawdust, inoculated sawdust, and put that down before the wood chips went down. So now all of this is inoculated. And those mycelium, from a study that I saw from some smart people like MIT dudes, is that the mycelium in the soil, which it's down in the soil, not just the wood chips, it can transfer nutrients from one place to another. So let's say you got corn like I had last year, and I got beans way over here. Well, the corn's going to need a lot of nitrogen, and the mycelium can actually transport nitrogen from the beans, which is rich in nitrogen, takes it out of the air and puts it in the soil, and transports it over to that corn that really needs a lot of nitrogen. And wasn't the greatest corn patch of the year, but I just grew some, since it was only the 2nd year of the garden, I just did some of that blue glass corn, the ornamental corn that you see a lot of people display around Halloween harvest time, and sold those at the market. Sorry for all the little pauses in here. I'm totally ad-libbing. And we got some, we did some birdhouse gourds, and you see those out there laying in the sun. And yeah, I know I need to get them up, the rest of them up. Those are just from last year that I didn't dry out, drill holes in, empty out, and turn into birdhouse gourds that I sold. One of the benefits that I've seen so far is that I don't use any pesticides or herbicides in the garden at all. And the wood chip garden, which mimics the forest floor, kind of protects you from a lot of the pests and stuff that you get. Now, I still get pests. I still get some aphids. I usually get an aphid bloom in about late March, that just like any kale that I've got going and stuff just gets inundated. But then within a few days, it seems like there's enough beneficial insects and stuff that come in and eat everything, aphid wise. I even got some parasitic wasps that are starting to visit, and they're great on the tomato worms, those horned worms that eat your tomatoes, and they get on your kale and lettuce and things like that. They're not the tobacco worms, but there's these little green worms. And later on in the year when they start coming out, I'll show you a great trick to get rid of them manually. But those parasitic wasps go and they lay their eggs inside the worm, and then it kills the worm, and the larva eats the worm and hatches out, and the worm's gone, and you got more parasitic wasps. I also did a couple pods of praying mantis eggs last year that I hatched, and there's, you can't see them from here, but if you walk that tree line down there, and even over here where I burn brush and stuff, you'll see some of those seed pods where they grew up and multiplied, and then I'll have a lot of thousands of praying mantises here again next year. Last year was crazy. So what I'm trying to do here is build an all-natural garden. 6 years ago, I had several heart attacks within a few weeks' time. I went and I had a quintuple bypass, and in the process of that, I had 2 strokes. I couldn't feel the pinky finger and ring finger on my left hand all the way up to my elbow, that whole bottom half of my arm. I couldn't move my left leg. I still can't see out of the bottom half of my left eye. It's all blacked out. I had to teach myself how to talk again. It was a long recovery process. And my daughter, who used to work at one of the Booney Foo-Foo little restaurants here in town, all natural and stuff, she got me started on microgreens. So my journey began 5 years ago with growing microgreens and eating those, and growing hydroponic lettuce. And every morning for breakfast, I would eat 2 eggs and a piece of sausage or bacon or whatever. And then for lunch and dinner, I would have half microgreens and half fresh lettuce with a little bit of oil and vinegar, because with microgreens on there, that gives you all the flavor that you need. And you just need a little oil and vinegar to get it to go down hard. Now, I used to drink at least 2 liters of Diet Mountain Dew a day. I'm completely on water for a while now, and it's a little harder to get up in the morning, but I braved through it. And that was 6 years ago. I had several friends that had the same surgery as I did, and none of them made it past 3 years. God bless them. Friends of mine since childhood. But I'm going on over, getting ready to start my 7th year post-surgery, and I'm still alive. I'm down about 170 pounds. When I came home from the hospital after a couple of months, I was still at 400 pounds. So I'm down to 225, 230. I don't really watch it that close. I don't really watch what I'm eating, except for the fact that I'm trying to get completely away from processed foods. I'm really excited about Bobby Kennedy being in Health and Human Services Director, because he says that he wants to teach other people. And I kind of want to do it too, because I'm not going to say it's a miracle, but eating right and drinking water and growing my own food that I know where it comes from, it doesn't have any pesticides on it, it doesn't have any herbicides, just those simple things, and trying to get a little exercise. And believe you me, this garden, getting it cleaned up is going to be a lot of exercise, but it's a daily thing you got to come out and take care of, especially when it's getting started. You can probably see here, if I kneel down, that these wood chips are really starting to break down over the last couple of years. And the dirt that we've got there, that's all dirt there. And yeah, there's still a lot of clay in it, but it used to be orange. And now it's kind of a dark brown. It's not black yet, but it's getting there. And over the next couple of years, it's really gonna start throwing out some awesome vegetables. Last year was just kind of, first year was meh, because when you put wood chips down, they will actually leach a lot of nitrogen out of the soil. And my buddy that came and helped me with a little tractor bucket to spread this, he did it on a day that it was raining, and we pushed a lot of those wood chips down in the soil, so they really leached nitrogen. First year was pretty much a tank. This last season garden was pretty good. Excuse me. Especially the fall garden last year really started coming along. We grew a lot of gourds last year. You can probably see a leftover loofah sponge there. Till a year or so ago, I didn't even realize that loofahs were gourds, but yes, they are. And the easy part's growing them. The hard part's cleaning them up and getting them ready to sell. And this year I'm going to go bigger on the loofahs because they sold really good at the farmer's market. And last year, as I grew tomatoes, those are all old dead tomato lines. I grew like a lot of beneficial plants, a lot of flowers. Now I don't quite remember what kind of flower that is, but it lived through the winter. And tomatoes, I planted a tomato, and then a basil, and a tomato, and a basil, and a tomato, and a basil. And come to find out, people really love fresh basil for pesto and things like that. So that sold as good as the tomatoes did at the farmer's market. I grow a lot of flowers because it brings in the pollinators. It actually even brings in a lot of the predatory insects that eat the bad bugs, the aphids and potato bugs and things like that. I did okay with sweet potatoes last year. I did okay with potatoes last year and wood chips. This year's going to be really good. I'm probably going to plant a couple hundred sweet potato slips down here because this is North Carolina and sweet potatoes grow great here. And once I get planted this year, what I do to plant is I'll pull back a row into that, down to the dirt in these wood chips. I'll pull the wood chips back in a row and I'll plant, like there's a volunteer kale over there that made it through the winter. Then I'll plant my crop, whatever it may be, and after they germinate and come up and starting to get their legs under them, I'll pull those wood chips back, and that helps save the soil. It helps save the water and moisture content of the soil, so you don't really have to water much at all as they get bigger. And then I'll just let it run its course. Now again, this year I'm not going to plant a whole lot of corn. I just plant some of that blue glass pretty corn to sell to people to hang on their porch at harvest time. I'll probably still sell a bunch of these birdhouse gourds that need to be cleaned up. That's just, that black stuff is just kind of like a skin on the outside that you just wash off and dip it in a little bleach water and drill your hole and you're good to go. Shake out the seeds and plant them again. Plus there was a guy that asked me if I liked growing gourds last year at the farmer's market, and he went home and he came back with a big old bag full of seeds, all kinds of different gourds from them little pretty ones that are yellow on one end and green on the other to, you know, other things like butternut squash and bigger ones and smaller ones and a lot of ornamental gourds. So we'll grow quite a few of those this year too. Grow a lot of acorn and butternut squash. Those are great to sell in the fall. They keep all winter and they taste like candy, if you ask me. We grow a lot of mint and lemon balm. And everybody said, oh, you know, be real careful planting mint and lemon balm because it'll take over. Well, that was 12 plants last year. It's all dark brown right now, but there is some green where it's coming back after I get all these weeds out of here. And people really like that. Lemon balm's makes a good tea to help people sleep or whatever. I don't claim to be a witch, but there's quite a few of them around here that really believe in a lot of the stuff that I grow. I'll grow quite a bit of herbs, some thyme and cilantro and things like that. They seem really happy with the woodchip garden. And I know this is a mess and I got a lot of work to do. But by the time it comes planting in a few weeks, I'll be ready to go. I've always been a firm believer in letting, maybe out of laziness, but I usually let the fall garden or whatever survives sit here all winter and let it break down as much as it wants to. And then I do my big cleanup in the spring. And that gives all this leftover vegetation time to return to the soil, because that's nothing but good. I'll probably I went to the bait store a couple years ago. I doubt I'll find any today because it's still pretty chilly. But I probably bought $100 worth of worms. Guy cut me a deal on buying that many. And I came out here and I dug them in and let them loose. In my little compost bin, I turned a bunch loose. And so every time you dig down a little bit, you find earthworms and redworms. And those are really beneficial for the soil too. It helps break down the vegetation. And we can clear all this off the top, but you got a bigger root system underneath. And the worms are really good about turning that into, worm cast compost. And you never have to look at it. It's all done underneath the ground. There's some birds over there that get birds all the dang time in the garden, 365 days a year. It's like, eat the weed seeds, dude. Don't eat the vegetable seeds. But it's really becoming like a little nature forest here. And it grows a lot of good vegetables. I think this year's going to be really big for us. We're going to grow a lot of vegetables. We're going to grow a lot of tomatoes. I'm going to stick with primarily Cherokee purples and cherry tomatoes this year. Cherry tomatoes are so prolific in this garden, and maybe they are for everybody. But last year, two cherry tomato plants were sprawled out 12 feet right through there. Were sprawled out 12 feet across and almost 38 feet long. That they had, I kept propping them up and propping them up and propping them up and let them run in either direction. I had cherry tomatoes for days. My ex-girlfriend would come out here and just lay down in the tomatoes and eat tomatoes for an hour. I never ran out of them, and they last a long time up until the killing frost. You'll have cherry tomatoes if you can grow them. But I'm going to do those. And I used to do stuffing tomatoes and canning tomatoes and big early girl this and whatever that. I always try to stay with the heirloom varieties and stuff. But I sell Cherokee purples the best. They're kind of finicky to grow. But over the years, I've gotten pretty good at it. I know what they like and what they don't like, and I grow a lot of them. And people just line up to get them until they're gone. I've usually sold out of tomatoes within 45 minutes of the market opening, and you get more money for them than the regular ones will. I guess because they're pretty, and people like to eat pretty food. You know, oh, that's so pretty. I want that. You know, and part of being a market farmer is giving people what they want, whether you like it or not. A lot of times I'll grow something like kale. I grow a lot of kale and I sell a lot of kale. There's a lot of old hippie chicks around here and they just eat that crap every day. I'm not big on it, you know. My sister hates it. She's like, I don't know why you even grow kale. I'm like, you know, because I make a few $100s a year on kale, and it costs me about $7 or $8 to grow it, and some time. So it's really well worth it. I try to give them a good variety of kale. I don't know if that's red Russian or what it is. You can see a lot of yellow stuff on there from hard freezes. But hell, it's just something that was left over from the fall garden last year. Or something that bolted in the spring of last year and then started growing. Kale's a real hardy plant. I've had it down to 10 degrees before and my kale looked great, so it's a good winter crop. I grow a lot of those white Japanese turnips. I call them ground apples because they're sweet and kind of taste more like an apple than they do a turnip. They don't really have any burn to them. People really like those. I grow some beets, but you know, I don't know. Me and beets don't always get along. But I really just wanted to get you guys an overview of what I do here. This garden is about 20 feet by 100 feet, and I'm sorry I've got hiccups, but that's just what God gave me today. So we'll go with it. And you know, I try to grow a little bit of everything. I throw a lot of flowers in. I love my pollinators, bees, bumblebees, wasps, hummingbirds. You wouldn't believe all the animal life that we have here, and hopefully we'll get some of it captured on video this year. I really wanted to come in hard with a video channel, but the first 2 years, if I'm honest with you, it'll be really boring because there wasn't a whole lot going on. It was okay in fall last year, but before that it was kind of sparse. I got you see the sticks and stuff, but I've got these metal T-posts, but I've got more of them, and I've got some cattle wire and some just straight stainless steel wire that I'll be making canopies with for beans. They call them rattlesnake beans. I'll grow a lot of black-eyed peas, and I'll grow a lot of cucumbers, and I'm even going to put my loofah sponges on arches built out of these T-posts and 4-inch cattle pen sheets that are like, I think they're like 8 feet long and 4 foot wide, and you just bend them over the T-post and make an archway, and that way you can walk right through and pick stuff. I screwed up a couple years ago, misclicked and ordered bush beans instead of pole beans, and my back kicked my ass all year. I only like to do pole beans now, and I like to grow a lot of them. Everybody loves good green bean. The rattlesnake beans that I've been growing the last couple of years came from Ottawa County, Alabama, and they were the same bean strain that my grandma grew when we were growing up. And most of the time, they're so good and sweet right off the vine that you can just eat them raw. I rarely cook them. My mom always liked to pressure cook beans until they were almost mush, and of course that takes all the nutrition out of them, but I like to eat them when they're good. I thought about doing some asparagus, but I've got a little patch of asparagus on the other side of the property, but it's kind of meh. And then again, it grows on the ground, so you got to get down there every day and cut and throw you back out. But yeah, that's what we're doing. Stay tuned. We're gonna get this place cleaned up, and we're gonna grow some food this year, and I'm gonna take you along the journey with me, and hopefully it'll help you out. Oh, and how do I get the wood chips? There's a website called chipdrop.com, and anywhere in the country pretty much you can go in there and you can sign up, and the wood tree trimming companies will go there and look, because they are always having a tough time trying to find out where to dump wood chips. And theirs is the kind of wood chips that you want, because it's got the green leaves and things like that in it that actually start composting and producing nitrogen, heats up. Even still, after a couple years, when it's really cold outside, steam will be coming up off of them piles, because it's generating heat to this day, composting. So chipdrop.com is your friend, and it's not too hard to start this. Just go to the liquor store and break down a bunch of old boxes and throw it down on the grass. There's no need to till stuff up. I got a tiller, but I don't use it anymore. Probably ought to sell it. And throw some compost on top of that, and then your wood chips. Pull your wood chips out back after, letting it set over winter. It breaks down that cardboard, exposes the earth underneath, and pull back to the compost, plant your stuff. Your roots will go down in the dirt, and you'll live happily ever after, hopefully. Well, not forever, but I don't know if you can see them old things. Had really good peppers last year too, a lot of them. Gonna have a lot of peppers this year as well. And I got some kind of mole or something poking holes. But we got a lot of wild turkey that come in the yard every day too, so it could be wild turkey poking down for grubs and stuff. Anyways, it's February 7th, got a lot of work to do, and I invite you guys to come along on the journey. We'll see you soon.